Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this transfer special of the Three Wise Men. I have Arvind and Shannon with me, and we're here to talk about the transfers that have taken place so far, guys, and the potential transfers in the coming month or so. Fresh news today that Crystal Palace signed Frank de Boer as their manager from Ajax. I mean, that was one of the best news as far as transfers are concerned. And I'm including managers in that. Finally, Crystal Palace, sign a manager who is not known for keeping the team alive in the Premier League. And he's had a great run at Ajax at their academy. He's won things. Shannon, who do you think Crystal Palace and the Premier League? Who are they getting in the shape of Frank de Boer?
Oh well, it's a brilliant signing by Crystal Palace. Finally, they're showing some sort of ambition, right? They didn't have the best of seasons, and Sam Allardyce was able to uh, provide his relegation escape magic for them as well. But if and it's a team of good young players. You have like Zaha and especially now Benteke up top, Townsend, a quality player in Johan Kabay. I think Frank de Boer will be will suit well for him, and it's a I mean just adding to the list of ever impressive managers in the Premier League.
Frank de Boer is more of a Pochettino or a Barcelona type of manager where he wants his players to attack. He plays a 4-3-3. He wants his players to press, which is the exact opposite of what Crystal Palace are known to play. So, I mean, and Steve Parish is not known for making or splashing money. So, how do you think the combination of the players and his managerial style is going to work together?
Well, Crystal Palace will have to back him, right? If they trust him enough to sign him in the first place, they should back him with the players that he wants, back him, for what plan he has for the first year, for the second year. And that is what we've stopped seeing in the Premier League so far. Very few managers get beyond a certain amount of time to put their stamp on their team, and especially with the TV money, I don't think Crystal Palace are scrounging for funds. So they have solid. I mean, they bought Benteke for 32 million last summer, so they have the money. They have the owners who are willing to spend. It's about just backing De Boer and letting him do his work.
Right. Just talking about another great managerial move before we move on to the players. Arvind, I want to bring you in here. Watford, I think, made another brilliant move, just like Crystal Palace, by signing Marco Silva. We all saw what a great manager he is with his short stint at Hull City that he had, and even though they did end up getting relegated, the world was impressed. I mean, he's one of those who's here to stay. How do you see Watford improving with Marco Silva?
I think one of the first things that will happen is Watford are going to start shipping in less goals, especially at home. They're going to be a lot tighter in defense with Marco Silva, and having proved himself as someone who can succeed in this level, Watford are getting a manager who will keep them in the Premier League for the first season, but going forward, they can become a strong mid-table team if things work out successfully.
Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, let's move on to clubs and players in general now. And one of the first clubs I want to talk about is Everton. Everton have been just at the crossroads where they're at seventh or eighth, nowhere, not as impressive to get into the top six and never fall out of the top of the table. Finally, we see the board, the owner backing the manager, and they've been one of the strong spenders, and they've signed the likes of Jordan Pickford. I mean, 30 million is a lot for any keeper. But yeah, he looks to be a great English prospect. They've signed Davy Klaassen from Ajax. So Shannon, how do you see things working out for uh, Everton this year? Do you see them making that step up into the top 6 or 7 potentially?
It all depends on not who they have signed, but who they will sign before the end of the transfer window. I mean, keep in mind, I don't think it begins for another couple of days, and they've already picked up two shrewd signings. I won't comment on the price anymore because in today's English transfer market, you don't know what is overinflated and what is a bargain anymore. But 25-30 million for a 23-year-old keeper seems a little bit much, but he's shown what a great shot stopper he is. One thing I hope he improves in is his communication skills. I remember watching the Arsenal Sunderland game where he was keeping Arsenal out single-handed before conceding late on. But every time he had to make a save, he just got up, went back to his post. He should be a keeper should be bollocking his defense, to get it ordered, and that might be one weakness I hope he works on is where he communicates with his backline, because I didn't see much of it last season. Davy Klaassen, he was very impressive in the Europa League. He's a very tidy midfielder, keeps the ball moving along. So yeah, good signing there. But again, for me, if I were Everton, thinking about Lukaku not being there beyond this season, I would try to replace him with a goal scorer rather than stuff.
Who do you think that goal scorer can be? There were talks of potentially Rooney going back, but they've died down. When we're hearing that he'll see out his contract. Let's say Lukaku does leave, which is a big question mark right now. Who do you think they can replace him with?
You know what? To be honest, I cannot think of a name from the top of my head, but I really hope they do sign a proven goal scorer, and it is, it's their, if they really want to push for top 6, then it's their time to make a marquee signing, right? Like, forget about budgets and all that. I mentioned earlier, the TV money pays for everything. So right now, plus Lukaku's fee and probably Barkley leaving, they need to sign the biggest creator and the biggest goal scorer. That's what they need to do right now. So far, good window, but they need a lot of work to do.
What do you think of someone like Giroud joining Everton? He seems like he wants more game time. And at Everton, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna bring that up, but looks like West Ham have offered him a lot of money, about 130-140k a week, with 30 million, offer that they've put, reportedly made to Arsenal. And to be very honest, I see Giroud fitting better at West Ham rather than Everton. Everton are more of a team that runs more. Lukaku does run, along with being a nuisance in the box, whereas at West Ham you need that focal point in the box. Someone like a Peter Crouch, someone like an Andy Carroll, but someone who remains fit and finishes consistently. So I think Giroud he'll be perfect if they play Lanzini and Mikel Antonio, some other guy, or Robert Snodgrass on the left wing with Giroud up front. They'll be, a big threat. And just to add, we were just talking about Davy Klaassen. I think he was one of the products that Frank de Boer brought through at the from the Ajax academy, and just to mention, he was the one who's brought up the likes of Christian Eriksen and Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld. So if given the chance, I think he'll bring up good players at Crystal Palace. Anyways, moving on to the other big spenders along with Everton so far, Manchester City. They've only bought 2 players so far, but that I think that's close to 80-90 million for just the 2 players. Arvind, they've signed a sort of unknown goalkeeper to us. I mean, the players from Porto and Benfica are always unknowns initially, and they go on to do big things in Europe. They've signed Edison from Benfica. They've signed, uh, potentially one of the uh, best prospects in Bernardo Silva. I'll still call him a prospect from Monaco. Um, what's Pep thinking here? I mean, my question to you would be: he's obviously they needed a goalkeeper, but he's still going for attackers and playmakers, whereas he should be signing centre backs. What do you make of the two signings, and who do you think they need?
So it was much needed. A goalkeeper was much needed. So Edison or Donnarumma were the two big ones who were in the market of sorts. So he's gone early, and I like how he's been very decisive so far. It's almost been Mourinho like. He's released the players that he knows will not fit into his team next year. Someone like a Jesus Navas, who is not bad but not City quality. Bernardo Silva seems like a luxury signing. Or any of these top six teams, they always need another additional midfielder every year. So, but I like how they've set up well now to go ahead and get some fullbacks, get a good centre back, and there's been talk of Kyle Walker, Danny Alves, and Mendy at left back. All these three are seem good signing who would be a big upgrade to what City have. So they've started well, but there's still a lot more work to do. There's been talk of them spending 200, 300 million. So 80, 90 seems loose change for now.
Right. You bring up Danny Alves today. You know, it was reported that he's agreed a 2-year deal with City and turned down a 1-year deal with Chelsea. How do you see Danny Alves in general working out, considering a lot of these players, you know, the likes of the name that strikes me first is Arbeloa, who moved here for a year, again a right back from Madrid. How do you see him working out in the Premier League? Not lining up essentially, but how do you think he'll work out in the Premier League? Does he still have it in him?
That was a little weird. They just seemed they just let go of Pablo Zabaleta, who was a great right back. At I think he's 33, and now they're looking for a 35-year-old Alves. He was great at Juventus last year, and Juventus, I don't know, somehow seemed to bring out the best in players whom the other top clubs feel are no longer viable solutions. And he played almost as a right winger in the semi-final and the final of the UEFA Champions League. So Pep definitely has an idea if he's going for him on how to play him. But I don't think playing him as an out and out right back is a good idea, because he doesn't have the pace to continue going up and down the flank as he used to do at Barcelona and still be defensively solid. So this is one of those interesting signings, and it's a 2-year deal. It's surprising that City would go and give him a 2-year deal when he's this old. So, but definitely a lot of quality that comes with Dani Alves.
And just to add about Dani Alves, I mean, I have to disagree with Arvind here for a little bit. I think he's still quality. You see that Pep is putting together a very young squad, right? There are no like serial winners, so to say. So what I think is Alves will provide that winning mentality. He'll provide that, arrogance that Zlatan gave United during his season last year. And I that's where I think Alves will be more help in the background rather than on the pitch itself. I think Alves will play like maybe one match a week, or just the important games, or when Pep decides to play 3 at the back with wing back, that's what is best suited for. But I think he has a lot to offer. He might surprise us in the Premier League. You never know. But I'm looking forward to watching him play.
I don't agree with you saying that there's a lack of serial winners in their team. I mean, start from the back, Vincent Kompany, move on to the midfield, Yaya Toure, Fernando partly. You go ahead, you have Sergio Aguero. So there's a good core of players who've been there at City for a while and who've won it with City. So it's not that they needed someone just to
be a
leader.
But I'm talking more in terms of the holy grail now, the Champions League. We saw what the City just capitulated, right?
Right.
They need someone with Champions League experience. Not that Yaya Toure doesn't have any. He won against United for Pete's sake, but uh, having another senior head around, you can do wonders. And we saw that with Zlatan. People said he was past it, and though he missed a few chances, he was banging goals left, right, and center. So it could only be good for City's youngsters to look up to players like Dani Alves, who's won 1,000,000 trophies in his career, right? So I think that might be a motivation behind giving him a 2-year deal. Seeing him more than just playing staff, maybe having his influence in the background would be Zlatan-esque for City. As much as it hurts me to say.
And just to finish up on City, Arvind, you mentioned that uh, Bernardo Silva is a luxury signing. He's Jesus Navas was probably not at Premier League or City level, and he'll surely bring quality and flair to the team. My question to you would be, where do all of these players fit in? So let me just name the midfield or the attacking players for City. Yeah, I agree that they'll have 3 or 4 competitions, but again, how do they fit in with Fernandinho, Yaya Toure, Ilkay Gundogan, who was an absentee for the entirety of last season, Leroy Sané, David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, who else? There's
So there's a lot of names there.
Bernardo Silva, Raheem Sterling, and all of these are like 40-50 million signings. How do you fit in? And we know for a fact, starting with Yaya Toure, it shows eventually that there's strong egos when there's that amount of money involved. How do you fit in? How do you manage these 11 luxury signings, so to say?
So I see a couple of things. So first off, Guardiola likes to play in a 4-3-3 of sorts. So the front three, they have 4 good players there. They have Gabriel Jesus, Sergio Aguero, Raheem Sterling, and Sané. And I feel those 4 make up a great front three, and they can keep rotating. Pep likes to rotate his players. The next behind them, you could do a 4-2-3-1 of sorts, but behind them, the 3 midfield, I see Bernardo Silva, David Silva, and Kevin De Bruyne being the 2, and then 1 CDM behind them, and that could be Fernandinho, Fernando, or Ika Gundogan. Now, there's a couple of players we've left out there. Yaya Toure is one, and then of course you have your defense behind them. Fernando is another one who is not going to get much game time. A couple of these players might move on. I definitely see Bernardo Silva being the guy who would take over from David Silva in a year or 2. And this is more of a long-term signing where he might not get as much game time this year, but definitely one for the future.
I agree with what Arvind said about Silva replacing Silva. I think that's what it is. But also you got to remember, like during I think City's more successful runs during last season, they played with 2 floating 8s. Now it was another of Maverick Pep's great discoveries where he had Silva and De Bruyne both start in center midfield but doing whatever the heck they wanted on the pitch. De
Bruyne ended up being a right winger a lot of the times and whipping in those great balls for Jesus.
Yeah, so they'll just play one of Yaya Toure, Fernando, or some holding midfielder, but they'll allow these 6 front guys to do whatever they want, 7 guys to do whatever they want, and it gives.
Just if I may interrupt real quick, Shannon, can you elaborate a little bit what is a number 8?
So basically, you have your football structure, right, and then you have your 2 center midfielders. And if you go by logic or by what's established, you have one going forward and one holding back, right? But what Pep does is he has his third midfielder do all the dirty work, and he allows Silva and De Bruyne to just release their positions, allowing someone at the back just to clear up after them, and that gives them those extra numbers in attack. That lets them overpower opposing team, create 2-on-1s and 3-on-2s and those kind of situations.
And just to give you a perfect example of one of the best number 8s that we know of and have seen is Steven Gerrard.
Would Xavi and Iniesta in their prime at Barcelona be another example of this?
Probably, yeah, but I would say Javi was more like a dictator from the back, right? Like he was pinging those passes, moving around. Iniesta was he could beat a man just by a drop of a shoulder and just pass it to Messi. So could be, but when
No,
this is
I'd still put Iniesta in that David Silva kind of role as a playmaker, and Javi more of a player who sits behind and more of a Pirlo like player.
yeah, like Scholes from the end of his career.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, great points there. I mean, all we can do is wish the best to the likes of Fabian Delph and Nolito in their careers. And let's move on to the other Manchester club. Manchester United were, we were supposed to. I say we for Shannon and myself and not Arvind. We were supposed to have made a lot of signings so far, but we haven't. Victor Lindelof, who's a centre back, has been our only signing. We thought for it, Mourinho being Mourinho would have had his signings sorted by now, and we were supposed to sign a CDM, and there have been all kinds of rumors and a striker, supposedly Morata, but nothing's worked out so far. Shannon, what do you think is happening? Do you think it'll happen before the preseason tour? And who are we getting in the shape of Victor Lindelof? And how are they going to change the world together? By they, I mean by Victor Lindelof and Eric Bailly.
Well, on paper it looks like silk and steel combination, right? Like he'll allow Bailly to win all the balls in the air, and Lindelof, from what I've seen, is a very cultured player. He likes the ball at his feet. I mean, if you watched his interview just after signing, he said, "I like to play with the ball," and that's what I'll expect him to do. And it's kind of damning on for Smalling when apparently Mourinho told him that with you at the back, I don't want you to play with your feet. I just want you to play with your head, as in just clear whatever ball that comes. And that's kind of damning on Smalling's ability as a footballer. But Lindelof is perfect in many senses of Mourinho's teams, United's team, where we always had a player who could build from the back, who could pick those long passes, who could drill those balls into midfield, and it opens up a lot of other options, not just in defense. Now you don't need someone like Carrick to play every game to push the ball forward. You have Lindelof doing that for him, and that allows you to play an extra attacking midfielder maybe. So this move was a long time coming. Thankfully it went through. There is still a lot of work to be done. I could go on a big rant here, but I'll allow.
Okay, I'll keep it short and ask you: do you see us signing Fabinho, Perisic, and Morata?
The optimist in me says yes. There's always rumors that come out, but I think Fabinho himself, he came out on Brazilian radio and said, yeah, if United were for him, that he would sign. I think it's more about negotiating with a fee with Monaco now. Morata seems the same way. He's agreed to come, but Madrid want to eke out every single penny from United. So that's dragging along. But for a team like United, especially this season, I'm going to digress a little bit. It all depended on the Europa League final, right? So there's no way someone who likes to be as prepared as Mourinho will have one single transfer list for Ed Woodward. You probably had one for when they qualified for the Champions League and one they wouldn't. So luckily they did, and they're trying to get targets off these. Now I'm inclined to believe probably Eric Dyer was number one on that list from so many reports that we saw, and Daniel Levy not letting him come. But I think Fabinho, I hope he comes. I really do.
I was just going to bring Arvind in. So Shannon mentions that there would have been a first choice, a second choice. Eric Dyer hasn't worked out. Fabinho is still up in the air, and for the past week or so, there have been strong rumors about Nemanja Matic. Arvind, do you think that's a good signing? I mean, he's 28-year-old. Chelsea are asking for 35-40 million, which again, money is it's just makes sense to not talk about money in today's football world. But after Juan Mata moving from Chelsea to United, and he's been a great signing. Do you think Matic would be another uh, smart signing?
Matic is a proven Premier League player who has done well the last 3 years, and he is a Mourinho type player where what he brings to the table is he will let Herrera and Pogba play ahead of him, and he will do all the dirty work. He runs the miles. He'll put in a lot of miles, and he'll be a good base with which United can build. He doesn't have the passing range of a Michael Carrick, so that would be something. But Mourinho likes his teams to be defensively strong. I just want to make one more point. It seems like United had like 6 central defenders last year, and I think you named like Tuanzebe and Fosu Mensah and probably 3 or 4 others who were in the youth academy who were really good. So I'm just surprised that United have signed a defender of all people to start off with. This is a very un-Mourinho like transfer window so far. Usually in his second year, he knows exactly what he wants from a team. So United have been disappointing this transfer window so far.
I wouldn't completely agree with you that it's disappointing that we went for a centre back. Lindelof was on the cards for the past 2-3 years. It was just United agreeing a fee, so to say, or agreeing terms with him, and the club willing to sell Lindelof. So Lindelof has been a target for quite a while, and we finally got him. I think Tuanzebe, Fosu Mensah are still going to be around. The interesting thing to see will be who does Mourinho sell out of Smalling or Jones. I think one of them is going to be sold for sure, because with Bailly and Lindelof, both of them are not going to be regular starters, and we have Marcos Rojo as well. So there's going to be a lot of selling that's going to happen as well.
There's a certain Daily Blind as well. So yeah,
you just picked the words out of my mouth. You mentioned Matic and his lack of passing abilities. I mean, my question to you guys would be why doesn't Mourinho trust Daily Blind to do that job? Even if it's like a part-time job, well, he has the capability.
Well, sorry, Arvind.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to interject there because before I forget what I was trying to say. Mourinho's teams are always filled with guys who are built, for one word. And he likes his strikers big, he likes his defenders big, and he likes big players in his team. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's not trusting Daily Blind. Like, you want someone like who's built like Yaya Toure or even Matic, right? I think Matic would be a great signing if United could pull him off. If at the beginning of the last season you would give me an option of whether my starting midfield should be Herrera, Pogba, and the third between Fellaini, Carrick, and Matic, I know what I'd pick, right? Matic is a proven Premier League player. He did a lot of... It's a stat you can confirm. He had 7 assists in the Premier League last season. Alright, and that is one more than Martial and I forgot Ander or someone else who had 6 each. So maybe people are underrating Matic's passing abilities, or maybe he doesn't need to pass that much. All he needs to do is provide that base. He has people like Lindelof and Pogba and Ander Herrera around him to pick his passes, right? So I think Matic, if we get him, it will be a great signing. It will give United a great base for next season.
So do you think Mourinho is adapting to the United way, or is United going to play the Mourinho way?
Both ways, right? I've been saying this. Mourinho has been saying this. A lot of fans have been saying this out loud, that Mourinho has never tried to play according to a club's tradition, but he's doing that at United. If not completely, but he's trying to do it. So I think it'll be a blend of both. It is, if you see this team with, the what we played last season, with Zlatan up front or Rashford up front. He's never played with a Rashford type of striker, being the sole striker with two attacking midfielders playing beside him. So he's tried to change, and for the good, it has worked out. But he's put in his influence as well. We were so defensively strong,
Yeah.
unbeaten for that 20, 25, 30 game run. So yeah, I'd say it's a blend of both.
And I want to just add to that, and just to confirm and to answer Arvind's question, we saw a bit of both last season. I mean, United played some sumptuous football in the first half of the season. And over the whole Premier League season, United created more chances than Chelsea, the Premier League champions. Right, all we lacked was finishing, and we ranted about that on many of our podcasts. But he's created that. He's put his influence in defense for sure, but he's also had adapted the United attacking approach. And we saw the other side of Mourinho, where he just pummels teams down with his staunch defense in the Europa League final. We've seen the Mourinho performance, and we've seen the United performance.
And Mourinho he can still park the bus, to be very honest. So if he wants to, he did that, in a couple of games. So if he can go his way, but he's tried to. His main intent when he joined the club was to make the fans happy, which is what was not happening for the past 3 years under Moyes and Van Gaal, which has changed considerably. We were talking about Matic and players from Chelsea. Let's move on to Chelsea. I expected Chelsea to have already signed some players, if not a lot. They had one of the most consistent first teams, but a very depleted squad, and they need to add considerably with Europe happening this season. Strong rumors have been, about Timothy Bakayoko, Alex Sandro from Juventus. Arvind, I'll start with you. And what do you want to say about Bakayoko? He seems like one of those engines that can work in sync with N'Golo Kante.
True that. If you press the Chelsea fan hard to find an upgrade to the first 11, I think Matic should have been one of those. And what Bakayoko gives that Matic lacks a little bit is he's better going up front, and he's faster on the ball. He's better on the ball, and he does have a slightly better passing range as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And initially, I think it was Jan or Feb when there were rumors of United willing to spend 60 million on him. So kudos to the Chelsea transfer team who are looking to potentially wrap up the deal at 36 million and sell the person they're replacing for close to 40.
No, I think
who
it's
is
still,
about 7 years older.
I think it's still 40 million.
The 20 million
euros.
is the newspaper commission.
yeah. So it's still 40 for 40 million euros for Bakayoko if it does happen. And I don't think Chelsea are beating United by signing him. As far as money is concerned, I don't think money is the issue here. United can easily pay 50.
I believe, based on what I read, I believe Bakayoko wanted to join Chelsea.
Exactly what I was going to say. So it's more
United,
of it's more of the player choosing the club than Chelsea outdoing United. So how do you think? I last season I kept saying I'm not a big fan of Marcos Alonso, but he kept proving me wrong. He was in my fantasy team every game the entire season, and he helped me win $150. So I won't say anything too bad about him. But if Chelsea do sign a 60 million plus left back, Alonso is he's probably going to be a bench player for a lot of the season. How do you see Alex Sandro working out for Chelsea?
So, first off, last season, if there was one player you told me where Chelsea didn't have a backup for, it was at left back with Marcos Alonso, where Azpilicueta had to play there. The United game was a perfect example of when that happened, right? Now, what Alexandro brings is two things. One is he brings, so we have two players for that spot now, and with next season potentially having 60 games, there is enough place for both of them. But the second thing that's more important is Conte likes options, and there are three formations we might potentially play: 3-4-3, 4-2-4, and 4-3-3. Oh, sorry, and 3-5-2. And for the second one with the 4-2-4, both of them seem like they could fit in the same team. So what Sandro brings in is options that are very important when it's the 75th minute of a game and you're trailing 1-0 and you need to change something.
Yeah, good point about Alexander. I still don't know how a 4-2-4 is going to work out with Alonso playing as on the in the front four. But let's see how
So
that
a
works.
4-2-4, you have almost two wingers of sorts as the front four, with two people in the middle. Think of a Costa and a Batshuayi just ready to take crosses. That's
Right.
kind of how a 4-2-4 lines up. So with that, you need a good left back and you need a good left winger of sorts. So that's where on the right hand side you have Moses and Pedro who can do that. On the left hand side we get options now.
Right. Okay. Talking about exits from Chelsea, in our last episode, we spoke at good length about youth potential at Chelsea, and it's the transfer. It's not even July, and we see that Bertrand Traore has left, joined Lyon, I guess. Christian Atsu has left for good and joined Newcastle. There is talks that if Bonucci happens, Nathan Ake, Eddie Howe is targeting Nathan Ake for 20 million. They've already put in a bid. Do you want to comment on, Chelsea again letting youth go for trusted quality?
Yeah, it seems like whatever Chelsea do with their youth, people are going to complain. Last episode was a prime example where you spoke about Aki not getting a medal, but Chaloba was someone who has been in Chelsea's youth since he was 8, and it was great to see him come up through the ranks and get some good playing time. So similarly, I think potentially selling Matic and keeping Chaloba is another good move. Speaking of Traore, again, it's one of those where there are three options. Do you send him out on loan again? Is he good enough to play at Chelsea? Third is sell him. So they've taken the option of selling him. The one good thing I liked about this deal that was not true with Bertrand or with Ryan Bertrand or with Lukaku or with Kevin De Bruyne is they have a clause to buy him back as and having a first option on that. So that's good to see. Christian Atsu was another one who just didn't develop the way they saw him, and again, it's good to see that he would rather get sold than send him out on loan.
Um, I don't agree. It was more of so I took your opinion in the last pod, and you were excited by what Traore did in at Ajax or the Europa League final. I forgot to bring up the likes of Dominic Solanke, who's left for Liverpool. We still don't know if Christensen is going to be a part of the first team, so to say. With Chelsea going all in for Bonucci and Sandro. So, I mean, looking at it from the non-Chelsea fans' perspective, yes, people are going to complain one way or the other. But as a Chelsea fan, I want to get your opinion as to, what you think of Chelsea again going for trusted quality rather than trusting youth.
Well, you could hold the same argument to United as well, right? Like when you sign Lindelof, you question what will happen of Tuanzebe and Fosu Mensah. So it's pretty much the same thing. Whatever Mourinho does as well, or whatever United does, it's always something. But I see what Arvind is getting to. But again, we might have another season where Chelsea plays 0 minutes from the youth teams, and I think that's what Sid is getting at. And I think we spoke at length about this last season, is where the owner wants immediate success, and he just doesn't think it's affordable to have youth players take a season or two to bed in. I mean, I guess Chaloba is one of, but I mean, how many minutes has he realistically played for Chelsea throughout the season,
Right,
right?
and you talk about United. I agree. We can pose the same question to United as well. But you just have Lindelof and Bailly as sort of the big signings. The rest are, they'll fill in. Times have changed. Smalling and Jones will fill in.
There are
And
like 6 players to fill in, man. Come on.
right. But at Chelsea, my why I can ask this question to you again was David Luiz 30-40 million, Cahill a regular, a leader, the next leader after John Terry according to me, Aspilicueta, one of the pillars of the team. Back three is sorted. You can't mess with that. And Chelsea are, they if they do get Bonucci and Sandro, it'll be close to 100 million. So there is you won't see, as Shannon mentioned, you won't see any time being given to youth players.
So again, you bring up a good point. I believe what Chelsea are trying to do is build a team where they can compete in the Champions League, and not just compete to get to the round of 16 and lose, but to actually be competitive with the likes of a Real Madrid or a Barcelona. And now again, these are rumors, right? But and all of them don't come true. But yeah, like you said, these are strong rumors. These are not like, oh, someone's going to spend 500 million and get Ronaldo or whatever. But the point is that these are good signings who are upgrades to the current players that they have. And so if will a Bonucci ever replace a Cahill? And he does seem like a big upgrade, right? So it's hard. So the reason why in the last 10 years there hasn't been a team that have won the Premier League 2 consecutive years is because it's hard to upgrade a team that has just won the title, and then complacency kicks in. The other teams are upgrading. So Chelsea have been proactive in approaching a lot of these targets. So that's good to see.
All right, Shannon, 10 seconds. Do you think Diego Costa will stay?
No, I think
Alright,
I think bridges are burnt. I think it's gone.
All right. Moving on to the other big performer last year in the shape of Liverpool. They've clearly signaled that they're going to be there. They're going to spend the money. They're going to compete again. Interestingly, they went in for a Chelsea reject in the shape of Mohamed Salah. They spent, the initial signing fee is 34 million, but according to how he performs, it can rise up to 45. Shannon, what do you think? Is he going to be a 34 million signing or a 45 million signing?
Well, after he left Chelsea, he's done surprisingly well. He scored like 30 goals, maybe got another 15-20 assists in like 65 Serie A games.
But in a league that has 3 or 4 teams, that's it.
Yeah, that's true. So, but it might be a good signing. But we see like a mold of a player that Jurgen Klopp likes: high energy, really good speed, quick on the counter, that sort of thing.
Great finishing.
Yeah, good finishing as well. What Liverpool have done very well this season, or this past season, was able to distribute the goals. They didn't need one particular player to score their goals, right? They had Coutinho, Firmino, Mane, everyone chip in. So that's good, and Salah will only help there. It'll give them an extra option. What I really hope they do, well, not from a United perspective, but from a footballer watching perspective, is sign some semblance of defense, maybe like a left back, like spend maybe 20 million and get someone decent. I don't know, but so far I guess I don't know if Salah is the player they needed. They could have done without him. I mean, it definitely added to their strength, but if you'd ask me, would he be the first player they should sign this summer, I would have probably said no, right?
Right. 2 questions. First one to Shannon. How do you... I got battered by a Liverpool fan on Twitter when I said, why don't you guys try out John Flanagan at left back? I mean, I can play better than Moreno, so surely Flanagan can do better. Thoughts on that?
No.
No?
No. Come on, he couldn't start a game for Burnley. I don't
Okay.
think he should be starting for Liverpool in the Champions
Oh.
League.
And any potential left backs that could fill that vacancy.
They could go raid their mother club again, Southampton. Ryan Bertrand is a good left back. He's a very good player. Uh, Chelsea looks like they're not going back for him, so you could potentially have a player available there, and you can satisfy your yearly obligation to fill Southampton's bank accounts. So, I mean, jokes aside, I would think you need a left back. You have probably the best left back, or the second best left back in the league. Why not go for him?
I still think they're going to play Milner over there, but I mean, if they wanted to be miser and still make a smart signing, not a smart signing, but a decent signing, Gael Clichy would be, slightly better than Mourinho. Decent backup, at least he has basic sense on how to play football, move around. So that could be one signing. The second question I had, Arvind, was how do again we can talk about uh, Champions League and there needs to be a squad, but if you were to pick sort of a permanent starting 11 for Liverpool, where do you fit in Salah, Mane, Firmino, Coutinho, Lallana, who have kind of been mainstays?
And again, it's one of those where you need options up front. And if you notice these players, all of them bring something different to the table. And Salah being a predominantly left footer, so you get options, right? You can play him on the right flank as an inverted winger with Mane on the other side, and with Firmino up front, Coutinho just behind them. So again, there are so many options that come up. You could also have Salah as a winger and do two players up front with Origi coming in as well. So he brings a lot of options, and that's something that you need to keep adding to a team.
Right, and I think Liverpool have signaled their intent that they're probably not going to buy a striker and probably play Firmino up front because Salah took his number 11 shirt and Firmino has been given the number 9 shirt, which is generally reserved for a striker. Shannon, last thoughts on Liverpool?
Last thoughts. Just before to add what they said, what Liverpool needed was Plan B. That's what they got unstuck at during the season, right? Some teams with some strong defense could hold them back. They don't have a Plan B, so sign a central defender, sign a big bulky striker so that they can long to and not just have to run with the ball, and they would be good for next season.
They do have Danny Ings coming in back as well.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that guy. But yeah, he's more of a. I don't think he's more like a target man, but runs on.
Yeah, I mean he's more than a decent backup.
Yeah,
sure.
but just to have a plan B, they should have someone up top who can hold the ball better than than just passing through the lines.
Right. We'll move on to another interesting story from last year in the shape of Arsenal. I mean, it all kind of went downhill for them as far as the manager situation was concerned. Most of the fans wanted Wenger to leave. He ended up staying, signed a 2-year contract. Big things were promised. Nothing has happened. Again, it's Arsenal being Arsenal in the transfer window. They've not been proactive. They're still chasing Lacazette, and Lacazette is only alive in the transfer window because Atletico Madrid got a transfer ban and they couldn't let Griezmann go. Otherwise, Lacazette had agreed terms with Atletico. What's happening at Arsenal, Arvind? Who do they need?
Arsenal don't fail to surprise us, do they?
Not
It's
at
just
all.
the same thing every time. I like Lacazette being someone who they are targeting. I think their number one goal is to make sure that they keep Sanchez and Ozil in the team. But they do need to strengthen in the back as well. They need a left back. I think they are never going to win the league with Gibbs and Montreal in their team. And they could do with a good creative midfielder as well. So there is a few things that can be upgraded for sure. But again, we go back to what is the ambition of Arsenal and what do they want to achieve this season, right? If they are looking for the top 4 again, then probably one striker is good enough. But if they want to really seriously win the league, they need about 4 or 5 good players there.
No, you mentioned those positions, but what players do you think will fill those positions? Who do you see joining Arsenal?
Well, they already signed a left back in Said Kolasinac, right?
Again, an unknown free signing,
Yeah, unknown.
a typical Wenger signing.
It is, yeah,
Probably 4 years from now, he'll be as good as Gail Clichy.
but I mean, just to give some credit to the guy, and
And
so
then go
that
to Man City.
our Arsenal viewers don't feel alienated. I think he's a decent signing. He's one of the better left backs from Germany, or Bundesliga rather. So I think at least they have one down, but they have to take into account what the other teams are doing. Like all the 5 teams around them, or even 6 if you consider Everton, they are all strengthening, and they're strengthening fast, and they're strengthening with like better players than they already have. And if Arsenal just gets a left back for this window and one striker, I don't think that'll be good enough for them. They would, and plus don't forget they'll be playing the coveted Thursday night football from next season. So they need to get signing some good, really strong players. But now they are in the position where United were last season, like where people were saying, "Oh, who wants to play in the Europa League?" So now I guess it's Arsene Wenger's turn to turn on his charm and get the players that could really make a difference. Get a Zlatan and get a Pogba, some to build on for next season. Otherwise, they might not catch up to the rest of the teams around them.
Hey guys, if I may just digress for a minute, one guy who's been linked with Arsenal is Mbappe, who seems to be linked with every club at the moment. I wanted you guys' take on this. So Mbappe is a sort of player who is okay. He's 18 or 19. He's been great since January. He doesn't really shoot with his he doesn't really shoot with his toes. He's or rather with his lace. He's more of a side-footed player. Um, he's not that good with his left feet. What makes this guy valuable at 120 million, or the numbers that are being thrown around right now?
Well,
He's an animal in the box. He's like a Thierry Henry and a Javier Hernandez combined. He's been that good, and the best part is he's done it at the highest level against the highest clubs. At the biggest stage in the form of the Champions League. So there's no, I mean, you can argue that no one's worth 120 million, but again, that's the money in today's football world is mental. Um, yeah, but I mean, if you're signing Pogba for 90 million, a striker would be valued more than that because he gives you goals, he wins you matches, and 100 million is close to 100 million is fair valuation for a potential world class striker.
Well,
Interesting. I mean,
just to add to that, I mean,
go ahead.
What you're buying from Mbappe is his potential, and that for also the fact that he's already very good. You could say that okay, this was his only first season, but if you watched him play, his movement is very mature. It doesn't seem like it's one off. But again, it's overinflated market, and it's just the fact that you could probably get 10 years out of service from him, 10 top seasons from him the next 10-12 years. So it's also about that.
So my follow-up question to that, Sid, sorry to digress just a little bit. Follow-up question to that is, if I am Mbappe, I see Arsenal as being the ideal place for me to grow and go to the next level. Do you guys? I mean, I don't get anything on the transfer fees, right? Monaco gets all that. So whether it's Madrid, where there are already so many Galacticos, or whether it's in Arsenal, where I know that Wenger is going to trust me and play me often until and allow me to mature. Do you think, from Mbappe's point of view, for his personal development, given the World Cup is coming up next year, Arsenal is the ideal destination?
No,
Sid?
no, his ideal destination is staying at Monaco.
Right. I
He's going to play.
agree.
Yeah, he's going to play Champions League. He's going to play game in, game out. He's already the champion of the French league. Why would he go to Arsenal, who are fifth in the Premier League, with
So
playing for Europa League, right?
so with Arsenal, you have an unknown managerial situation. You don't know how stable the club is.
Oh
Sanchez
yeah,
and all.
they haven't
No,
announced if Arsene Wenger is staying yet, have they?
No, he signed a 2-year contract.
Okay, okay.
But
Yeah, yeah,
even
he's there.
even then, he can leave any time now. If he does badly, they're going to sack him. If he stays only for 2 years, the player situation is odd because they hold a club like Arsenal to ransom, which is embarrassing. So you want some kind of stability. Agreed that there is a lack of strikers at Arsenal, so he'll fit in well. But the same applies to Liverpool, who've been strongly linked with him. But it's if you're thinking as Mbappe, you're not caring about money. As Shannon said, Monaco is the ideal place for him to grow. At Madrid, again, it's going to be about big names. So Ronaldo and Bale are going to play every game until Benzema is sold. Benzema is going to play. So, and if you don't perform for a month, you're going to get battered.
So I would like to point a different. I would like to showcase a different point of view. I mean, you still have a Bernardo Silva going to Manchester City. So with the earlier argument, you're still going from a French league who are first to a City who are fourth right now. So, but my point is, I think players do see the Premier League as an upgrade. It is an upgrade in terms of money as well. But it just seems like working with Wenger would aid his development a lot as well.
Again, to support my point, if you are a player and today you want to choose between City and Arsenal, you go to City. You have a manager, one of the best, who's going to be there for the near future. He's building, I'm going to use the word that Shannon hates. It's the best project out there. He's building a great team. You have Aguero, you have Sané, you have Jesus, you have David Silva, you have Yaya Toure, company. You have leaders in the team.
I think I would disagree here, just because I would rather work with. I mean, if from Mbappe's point of view, I think Wenger is more promising in terms of.
No,
so
but
you talk about
again,
instability.
but
I don't
again-
think you're going to get more stability than someone being in the club for 21 years.
Yeah,
No,
but
but
not
again,
24
you're
in
not-
future years. And I'll ask you
Right.
one question, right? Sid or Arvind, any of you can answer. Name the last player Wenger developed that turned out world class. Think. I mean, take the next 5 minutes. You will not. The last player was probably Henry. Right? After that, it's been what? Chamberlain. What happened to him?
I can't think of anyone
Yeah.
after the Invincibles. And I brought this point up a few pods back that he's gone on for. You can't even imagine that the likes of Walcott and Chamberlain have been there forever and have done nothing as far as developing themselves is concerned. So I agree. It's not the best place to go as far as player development is concerned. And Arvind, you mentioned that it's not only about the manager. I think you learn more from the leaders in your team. The class of '92 at Manchester United learnt equally from Sir Alex, but also the
Cantona,
the
Dennis
likes
Irwin.
of Dennis Irwin,
Steve Bruce.
Again, yeah, you can take
Paul
names.
Ince. Yeah.
Tell me one leader at Arsenal. Tell me one mature leader besides Per Mertesacker at Arsenal right now who can pick you up if you have a bad day.
Well, Peter Cech is one of those, but I see your point. You make a very good point, and I have to agree with you here that Arsenal do lack a set of leaders. And yeah, I'm going to give it to you there. It's a good valid point.
Yeah, and there have been strong rumors, not rumors, of Arsenal making a 35 million bid for Riyad Mahrez. So that might turn out to be an interesting signing as well. Talking of Riyad Mahrez, we'll finish on Leicester City. Leicester City have made a couple of interesting moves so far. They've got in I think it's Michael Appleton, who'd previously worked with Craig Shakespeare. So they've kind of provided some stability as far as the coaching and the managerial situation is concerned, which was a question mark last season. But Arvind, they've signed one of your favorite defenders in the form of Harry Maguire. I mean, clearly Huth and Morgan were. It showed that they had old legs in during the last season. Are you excited by what Maguire can do at Leicester?
Absolutely. I think he's one of those defenders who is good in the air, good with the ball on his feet, and definitely an upgrade to the aging stars that brought Leicester the title 2 years ago. And Leicester badly needed him, and they've done that quickly, quietly, and swiftly. So definitely an upgrade. Very, very good buy.
Good point. Good point. I'm just gonna throw out some random signings that have happened so far, and I don't know if you guys care to comment. I think these are fantastic signings for the money. Bournemouth have signed Asmir Begovic for 10
Oh,
million. I think. I think
beautiful.
I think he
Beautiful.
wasted his time by going to Chelsea, and he was one of the best before he moved to Chelsea, and I think he's going to turn out great at Bournemouth because players have developed. Whoever's gone to Bournemouth has done well. Another smart signing I think has been Darren Fletcher by Stoke City. Leaving West Brom, so he's wanting to stay close to Manchester. All right, so I guess that's it. That's a wrap for today. I think we had some great discussions about the signings that have happened. We'll be back soon with another episode. I think we plan to talk about the upcoming preseason games, and a lot of them happening in the US again. And Shannon, I think, is going to one of them, and also other transfer activities. Hopefully, about other European teams as well. We'll try and cover Spain and Germany. So, thank you for listening to us. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and subscribe to us on YouTube. And please give us some feedback. Thank you and goodbye.